Hello, what's up everyone? I'm Colby Cheese and you're watching Beginner's Guide. This is a series that I started as a way to help new players overcome some of the problems that I had when first playing a game and help you kind of get above the curve when you're trying things out. So I thought it was only fitting, I just did a Defiance review. Let's go ahead and do a Defiance Beginner's Guide. So for Defiance, I'm going to actually talk to you about some of the ways to get you started and overcome some of those questions that you're going to have at first, and then explain some of the more confusing mechanics that I didn't actually understand until way later in the game in more detail. So the first thing that you actually want to do when you start playing Defiance, or in fact before you ever even start the game of Defiance, is enter in some ArcFall codes. And essentially what this is, you can go on their website and you click on ArcFall codes, and there's a section where you can just enter in a code and it will give you all of these bonuses. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description down below to a website that I use that has just a list of all the codes. Now normally you would have to go search the internet and just random various areas like watching streams and looking at Twitter feeds and looking at YouTube videos to find all these codes, and there's 120 of them, so that's a lot. But all you have to do is just copy paste all these codes in and you're going to get some pretty good starter weapons. You're going to get extra inventory slots and even increased weapon skills. So essentially, enter in these codes, you're going to get some good weapons, and that's going to give you a good start to the game. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to know is which ego powers to choose from, because in the tutorial area, you're going to go ahead and pick your first ego power. And it's important to try and decide on something that fits your playstyle, but if you're looking for an idea on probably what's going to help you get through the game the easiest, in my opinion, I would probably choose the decoy. You can also choose the cloak. It's actually pretty nice to be able to use the cloak. The cloak will recharge your shield if you get pounded and taken out, so that is pretty good actually for a lot of situations. However, the recharge time will make it not as useful as just using the decoy. The reason I like to use the decoy, not only is the decoy skill good to use, it's also close to a lot of the really good perks that you're going to want to have in the game. And so essentially what you want to do is grab the decoy, and then let me explain some of the perks that you're going to want to pick up. So the perks in this game, they have some various different boosts. A lot of people, their first instinct is probably going to be, oh, I just want to get lots of damage so I can kill stuff quickly. And there are some okay damage boosts in the perks, but honestly, you're going to be doing plenty of damage even without any perks installed at all. So my recommendation is to grab a couple of the defensive perks so that you can just stay alive longer throughout the game. And some of those most useful ones, in my opinion, like the best one, is going to be thick-skinned. And this is going to work really well with some of the shield mods that you're going to be using later, and I'll talk about that later on. So I would definitely go for thick skin. Of course, that one is actually closer to overcharge, but it won't take you too long to get to that area. Also, I would be picking up detachment. Since you're going to be killing stuff really quickly, that's going to make sure that you, for the most part, are going to have a lot of damage reduction there. And then I would be trying to pick up fortitude. The extra HP is a really big deal. And of course, go for some cellular armor once you have a chance. And pretty much after that, I mean, you're going to be really high level by the time you have all of these maxed out. So just go ahead and head in those directions and kind of pick up whatever it is that you prefer after that point. Now, as far as a shield is concerned, I've tried out most of the shields. There's shields that go up to about 1500 shield rating and all the way down to like around 1000. So it's not a huge difference. I mean it definitely is a decent difference. But the big problem I see with those shields that have 1500 rating is that they take like 10 seconds to recharge, and that's not good because a lot of times you're going to be constantly taking damage. So in my recommendation, I would say pick up a Respark. If you can find a Respark shield, that's going to be your best bet. The reason for that is because it actually only has like a 2.7 to 3 second recharge on it, and that works really, really well with thick-skinned. So you pick up thick-skinned, as soon as your shield goes down, boom, you're only taking half damage for those 3 seconds until your shield is back up, and so that'll help you out a lot whenever you're fighting enemies and stuff like that. So as far as weapon preference, I think this is once again your personal preference, but I think the most useful thing for leveling up is going to be trying to grab a Vought bolter. And the Vought Bolter is essentially a mix between a repeater sniper rifle and a bolt action, and it does pretty decent amount of damage. So this is good if you are good at landing headshots. If you really suck at aiming and you can't ever land headshots, you probably don't want to really use sniper rifles, but you do want a good long-range weapon. So if you don't want to mess with trying to aim a lot, then I would stick with the FRC Heavy Assault Carbine, because they have a really good rate of fire but also a nice amount of damage, so you can really use those effectively to take enemies out at range. And then as your secondary, I would probably stick with some SMGs. I think you want to pick up an SMG with some kind of elemental damage. If you can pick up like an electric or a fire SMG, that will help you out quite a bit. And also, I have some other weapons that I swap out for situational fights. So I'll have a grenade launcher that I use against a lot of bugs and things like that. And then for PvP, I like to use just a regular shotgun or an immunizer, since it's really easy to attack with. It doesn't it's pretty much auto lock essentially. So so those are my recommendations on weapons for getting you through the game. Now let's talk about the missions in Defiance. So in Defiance, you start out and there's just like a couple things to do, but once you get to the first, I guess, main area, the little town spot, there's going to be quite a few side missions that start popping up. Honestly, I would say stick to just doing the story missions until you finish all the story missions, and then go back and do all of the side missions. The reason for that is, well, a couple things. I think personally that the main missions are just a lot more fun and well thought out, as well as the fact that the rewards you get are way better. You only get mods. You only get some mods from doing these side missions, and you really don't need mods that much. They're not as useful because you're constantly getting these like new weapons, and you can always buy mods really cheap from the vendor if you need specific mods to upgrade your weapons. So I would just stick with the story missions to get those upgrades that you need, and then after you finish all the story missions and you have the weapons that you want, then go back and do the side missions for all of those mods that you want to pick up. Now, one thing about this game is that once you do a main mission, sometimes they don't give you the next mission right away, so you're like, wait, where's the next main mission? Essentially what you have to do is either relog, or you have to go do a side mission or a rampage mission, or you can just wait for a little while and then the next mission will pop up for you. So that's what I usually did. If the next mission didn't pop up right away, is I would see if there was a rampage close by, because rampages can be completed in like 3 minutes and they give you a lot of XP, and they're just really easy to do. So once you get going, the only other thing that you really need to know about is just a few combat tips. So the game is not really all that hard. All you need to do is just try and find a bit of cover to draw enemies to you while diminishing the area that they can actually attack you from. So just try and stay behind cover at all points, and don't be rushing into areas, because obviously the enemies will spawn from certain locations, and if you're getting surrounded, it's going to be way more difficult. Sometimes you can just rush past enemies and go for the objective to complete a mission, but generally it's not as easy unless you have your decoy up, where you can just like shoot out your decoy, everyone starts shooting at that, and then you go ahead and activate the mission objective. So that's pretty much the only tips I can give you for combat, because the game is pretty simple actually. So as far as some of the mechanics in the game, let's go ahead and talk about those, some of the stuff that you may not understand right away. One thing that you're going to want to do in this game is salvage or sell your items depending on what your goals are. So, obviously you're going to get a full inventory real soon, and you're going to need to deal with that. So personally, I prefer salvaging all the items, but that does take a little longer, because you have to individually click on each one and click salvage and then say okay. But if you're in a hurry and you don't want to mess with all that, you can just go to the nearest vendor and just mass sell all your stuff. Just make sure you don't sell things that you're actually planning on using. One thing that I didn't understand right away, and may not click with you because this is a little bit different than a lot of other games, is the way the actual level system works. So in this game, there's actually an ego rating, which is your level, And right now I think your ego can go up to a max of 5,000. But by the time you finish the main story, you're only going to be at around 300 ego rating if you skip most of the side missions. And I think once you complete every single mission in the game, you'll probably be around 900 ego rating. So essentially, what ego rating does is it gives you it unlocks more perk slots, as well as just more points to put into those perks that you can equip in the slots. The other thing that ego does is it allows you to equip higher ego rating weapons. Now, the thing about the weapons are that all of the weapons, no matter what level they are going to have the same damage stats. But what a higher ego rating on a gun means is that once you max out the experience on a gun, you're going to get a better bonus. So you may look at a gun and you see the little experience bar on that weapon. When you're using that weapon, you start to gain experience. Once it maxes out, it gets this little bonus, which may mean like more magazine size or something like that. And so that's pretty much all it is. You get a higher ego rating gun, you get a better bonus. And other than that, the only other thing that you would look for a better gun is potentially like more mod slots, so you can put more mods in it and things like that. And the other thing for weapons is there are a few different elemental effects that you can get on them. So let me go ahead and explain those, because I actually didn't understand what most of those meant even after I beat the game. I had to look up most of them. So first off, there's fire, which is pretty simple. That gives you a high chance to do a pretty high damage dot on the enemies. This is really nice for just doing lots of damage straight up. There's the electric one, which will stun enemies whenever you hit them, which is nice because, well, they can't attack you back. There's the blue bio symbol, and this one will actually snare enemies in like a little goo thing on their feet, and it also causes them to do less damage as well. There's a purple spiral, and this is a siphon. So what it does is it gives you a chance to steal life from the enemy and then return it to yourself. And finally, there's the green radiation elemental effect, which is like slag in Borderlands, and it'll just cause the enemies to have less armor and they take more damage. So pretty simple overall, but that's about it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned something from the beginner's guide video. I don't think I missed too much, so leave a comment down below if you think I needed to talk about anything else, or if you enjoy this series and you want to see more. I'll probably be doing these for other games as well. So for now, guys, make sure you subscribe to see more videos, and I'll see you around next time. This is Cheese. Peace out.